tell me you killed the bastard? Drove your staff into his wretched skull, slid a dagger in his gut? Not that he'd die from that. Works on mortals, though.
You watch your back out there, all right? Ready to take another stab at this, goddess? If I were Kronos, I'd be properly afraid of you. Got everything here well under control. Courage, goddess. And no quarter to your enemies, all right? Moonlight guide you, as you witches say. Quite a mess we've gotten ourselves into, haven't we? I know things must seem dire, but take heart. We'll navigate through this. Any luck finding the head of Kronos yet? Be sure to hit them where it hurts for me, will ya? All's well enough here. We'll see you when you're back. Death to Kronos and all that, aye? Beg pardon, goddess. I must get this correspondence to the surface right away. Fresh shipment of supplies came in while you were out. Don't mind me, goddess. I'm just busy drafting up some of our latest schemes. We've many sympathizers on the surface and below still loyal to your father. Go forth and slaughter me some wretched traitors, will you, goddess? Once more you grace me with your presence here, goddess. Would that we could just talk like this a while, but alas. The nightmare goddess stands before me in all her glory. You need anything at all, you know where to find me, goddess. You come back safely, else I'll have to venture out there and haul you in myself. You'll have your vengeance, goddess. I'm sure of it. We'll dig ourselves out of this one yet, you rest assured, goddess.
Those thorny chaps you've been dealing with. Their numbers grow in each report I get. If you've thoughts on how we could have better prepared you, best not to speak without prepared remarks. I understand the feeling only too well. You'll keep me posted, though.
Well, that all sounds entirely unfortunate. Blind Cyclops, huh? That must be Polyphemus. Gave him that scrape myself way back. He's still going on about eating people.
Our good witch there knows you've a mountain of a journey ahead of you, goddess. You hear about our mountains on the surface? Big tall rocks? You look up from the base to the peak, you'll swear they can't be climbed. But if you only concern yourself with making that next step, you'll make it to the top. If you run into anything bad whilst you're out there, you come talk to me about it. Chances are I've seen it, fought it, otherwise gotten past it, and can offer some advice.
You be wary of the sorts you meet out there, all right? You find a live one gives you any trouble, you know where to hit them where it hurts. Look, you don't have to tell me what it's like not having a family about. I spent a good-sized portion of my mortal days away from home. Had a war to fight. Got a little sidetracked after.
Yes, well, by the time I finally returned, I hardly recognized my son and my wife. We lived out our mortal days together, and that was enough. I reckon they're comfortable somewhere below. Penelope and I drifted apart. Happens with mortals sometimes. And it happens with shades, too. As for my son Telemachus, he's his own man. Such is life, or death, as it turns out.
Well, all I can say is that I was alone. At the end of one life and the start of another. Lost. She appeared before me then in all her splendor, and she revealed to me a path I hadn't seen. I was. She told me she could grant me a new life. She needed a tactician knowledgeable of the surface. I thought, who am I to turn a goddess down? I followed her. It's been a while now. According to my confidants, they've all sworn in with Kronos, I'm afraid. Mortals, they often want whatever they don't have. Another golden age in this case. The promise of one. And then their wretched souls shall hound us with renewed vengefulness. I've witnessed endless wars before, madam. So have you gods. How can we stop this? You really using that labrys, goddess? Double-bladed axe thing. I mean, you no offense, but isn't it a little much? Not even Ajax could have wielded that. Who is Ajax? Only the biggest lad I've ever met. Who's Ajax? But I forget myself, for he didn't have the strength of Hades flowing through him. Or maybe it's your own. Good hunting. I really do appreciate the offer, goddess. I think your headmistress would rather I stay here. You understand, don't you? Look, I do love a good hot bath, even whilst dead, and I'm not one to say no to goddesses, so... why not? A visit to the baths with you right now? Ha! Sure, I'm honored to accompany you, goddess. My eyes are properly averted, goddess, that I swear. I trust the temperature is to your liking, practically feel it in my bones. Almost like I'm alive again. Well, most of them would bathe from time to time, though seldomly together like this. Men with women. It could be untoward. Me? No, goddess, of course not, no. In fact, I've bathed with goddesses before, it's been a little while. It is. Agreeable, it is. In this, I'm very fortunate indeed. The Lady Athena often watched over me. I'd never have survived the war if not for her. Then, on my travels home, there was Calypso and Circe, a witch not unlike you. Nothing lesser about her, with respect. These goddesses, the hospitality they showed me, why, it almost made me forget myself. Forget my family. It's a tale, goddess. Anyway, life takes its complicated turns. Take it from me. Well, don't know about you, but I am properly relaxed, I'd say. That was a splendid and much-needed time. Truly appreciate the invitation. Fishing! Oh, my greatest weakness, goddess. The waters and I have never mixed too well. But then who am I to say no to you? Besides, I'm overdue for a short leave, I think. Let's go. Harder to outsmart those little bastards than one might expect. These fish won't ridicule us again if I can help it. Poseidon can't help you here, little fish. Where are they? Wait for it. Is that? Steady now. Hey, you got one! Oh, nice catch. I caught out. Got you, you little... Alas. That blasted... Ah, well. I thoroughly enjoyed our outing, though I still thoroughly hate fish. Goddess, your presence alone is all I could ask. Though if you're in a giving mood, then perhaps you'll accept a small gift from me in turn? I'm most grateful, goddess, and expect to knock this back at the taverna at the soonest opportunity. Well, would you look at that? How could I possibly say no? It seems you found my weakness here, goddess. I ought to be the one honoring you, goddess. My inclination is to save this for the moment of our victory, but it's good to have in reserve in case of some emergency, you understand. Oh, I see what you're up to here, goddess. If you continue to exploit my weakness to this stuff, I may yet learn to turn it to a strength. Good plan! You know, I journeyed far and wide throughout my mortal days, met great mortals and even greater gods, but never could I have imagined ending up here, only to receive such a handsome gift from one such as you. You got it. Your will be done, goddess. Oh, don't I wish. Goddess? Goddess? Ah. Hail. Let's see. Good show that time. Hello there. Fine work there. A moment, goddess. If I may, goddess. Beg pardon, goddess. Hey, come on. Seriously now. With your Olympus-dwelling relatives assisting you, I've half a mind to ask you to let them know I'm on your side, except not all of them love me. Lady Athena and others favored me, it's true, but your Uncle Poseidon, well, I got on his bad side, I believe. Maybe he's let it go after all this time, but that's a risk I'm not prepared to take, so keep quiet about me, would you? If I may be so bold, goddess, you witches are reliant on your magic when it comes to fighting from afar. You ever think of taking up the bow again? I could give you some pointers. Ah, well, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. A single weakness, in your case, perhaps. The good witch there noted you were able to vanquish her in a full-on contest. Impressive stuff. You get much farther? Strange music, huh? Reminds me of when... Oh, I'll spare the tales for another time. You've enough on your mind, I can tell. We've multiple reports the armies of Kronos are massing on the surface up there, and not yet caught wind of your efforts. At least you aren't contending with them, eh?
There's not a downward route that's more discreet. Those thorny chaps in the woods, they've no love for Kronos either, at least. For certain, the one life to live bit instilled in me the will to survive. Most mortals cling to life, but I was better than most at rejecting my doubts. And when my plans all fell apart, I improvised. That's that I always relished finding a way out, no matter what I'd gotten myself into. Treating my predicaments as mazes to be navigated, puzzles to be solved. Nay, goddess, not if you ask me. You asked before about how I managed it. The pressure to always prevail through what, in retrospect, were many terribly exciting scenarios, all whilst bearing the burden of so many others' expectations and my own. Good. But it occurred to me there's something else. 'Twas love that drove me on. The great war that earned me my place in Elysium. I wanted desperately not to go. To stay with my wife and then newborn son. Sound familiar, does it? The good witch put you to the test out there, did she? Quite an intensive teaching style, I always thought. She expects a lot from you, but that's just what happens when you've such potential. Come, I know how dispiriting it is to chart one's course only to lose one's way. We rarely get where we must go the fastest way we can. See Charon's latest haul, goddess? Shipment by the riverside, all yours. And we're watching the rivers, making certain this won't be the last. Aye, with what gold we've gathered recently. He really means to melt down every last one of those Kronos coins we can get our hands on. Goddess, I was just thinking of your travels, taking you beneath the surface and above, I reckon to the ends of the earth. No mere journey. Got to be a better word for it. No, too upbeat, and voyage is more of a nautical term. We'll think of something. And, that's the end of my report this time, madam. Should you have any questions, please don't hesitate to summon me at any time. Certainly, madam. Can't say I have. Been just that way from the night the good witch got him. The snoring I became accustomed to eventually. He's sleep itself, isn't he? So Doom has come to stay with us a bit. My last and only other brush with him did not resolve particularly well, so I'll just keep my distance if that's quite all right. No objections here. I miss the feeling of the rain sometimes. Then I remember years at sea soaked to the bone, and thank the gods the blasted stuff can't get to me as once it did. Aye, almost seems to soften them up, doesn't it? Leave them ripe for the harvest. Go pick some off for me, will you? Nemesis has been in an especially foul mood of late. Anything I should know about? Shame it's been this way. Personally, I'd rather have divine retribution with me than against. I reckon you can't just smooth things over with her, can you? So how has Nemesis been faring out there? Taking matters into her very capable hands. Not making too much grief for you, I hope. Say no more, then. Though if she becomes too intent on impeding your results over achieving her own, we'll step in. Got a most troubling report. A sighting in the pathways on the outskirts of Erebus. Did our eyes out there see true? No one gets into the crossroads whom we don't permit, or can even know we're here. Not even him. So he's sniffing around? Fine. He wastes his time whilst you get closer to your mark. Oh, great sailor is an understatement, goddess. They say his exploits rivaled even mine. Alas, that I never once had an opportunity to witness his prowess. Oh, it must have been something. Well, I'm saying that the possibility exists, yes. Eternal vigilance is near impossible. Enemies have always exploited the lack thereof. I ever tell you of the old wooden horse trick? But classics ought to be retold. Though, if you'd rather, I have far more tales of trickery and valor. Take the Cave of the Cyclops. Oh, I'm flattered and relieved to hear it. Very kind of you to let me know, particularly after all this time. Quite humorous indeed, my lord. I intended no offense by avoiding you. You know that, of course. A mortal impulse whilst in mortal peril. I never do. Well, to be quite frank with you, Moros, may we be informal thus? I had the hardest time untangling myself not from near-fatal situations, but the arms of certain goddesses. My greatest weakness, looking back. Aye, surprisingly enough, it did. How's life have laid down at the bottom of the sea? All sorts of nastiness lurking there, that the reports make clear. I wager you've seen some things. What, Skiller's still around? The sirens, no less? It's a wonder you made it back. Well, please tell me you didn't listen to a word they sang. Oh, I once was desperate to hear the sirens' song. I barely resisted their temptations. Of course, I was merely mortal. Perhaps you're less susceptible to their allure. She's a menace. Caught half a dozen of my crew like she'd a separate set of teeth for each of the poor lads. We'd little choice but to pray to the gods and sail on. Tell her hello for me. For the most part. Come join us, goddess. I was just regaling the shades about when first I traveled to the underworld, whilst I yet lived and breathed, if you can believe it. And thusly I got out. Oh, I'm dead serious. My tales aren't quite as tall as they may seem. But now the gates of hell are flung wide open, aren't they? Oh, hail, goddess. I didn't notice your approach. Half inclined to blame the onset of the years, but I've no such excuses in this state. The mood and everything is well enough. Our ranks swell with shades moved by the tale that the princess of the underworld has returned, with vengeance on her mind. Everything's shipshape with me, especially after a brief reprieve right here. Be well, goddess. What was the source of your misfortune that you're back with such a scowl? Some whalers or caskets, perhaps? Oh, shadow spiller. You've strength enough. They merely test your nerve. Foes such as that are to be faced head-on, no hesitation. Set for another go. See, that's the sort of inquiry I'd expect from somebody who sighted a root stalker out in the woods very, very recently. So there's still something rotten in Erebus, then. Heard reports you were proceeding well through Oceanus, but evidently they were not up to date. What brings you back, goddess? I did, but not alone. Even with my shipmates, seasoned veterans all, we scarce could track the slippery bastards darting out of the waters. Not reassuring, is this? Goddess, latest reports said you encountered the king vermin. Don't care if you're immortal, I'm relieved you made it back in one piece. Tall tales. The king vermin's wrath is inversely proportional to its stature, and its stature, as I understand, is very small indeed. Ah, goddess, you may see through most of us shades, but your empathy for me is a bit misplaced. Penelope, Telemachus, and I, we're cordial with each other still, but how to say this without sounding callous? Now, spare me the ridicule. I'm dead serious about this. You weren't with me on the surface there and wouldn't understand. It must be very catchy, eh? Not in a little while, little goddess, though I'd expect that pointy hat of hers to give her away. Oh, she's got to be around here somewhere, little goddess. You'll find her yet. So, there's a bit of a new wrinkle in our plans. We've been able to verify some of the details that Master Hermes suggested to you about what's brewing on the surface. The forces of Kronos gather to sail on Olympus through a channel cut across the land. You're poised to disrupt the enemy ranks from within. Aid Olympus, and your chances against Kronos may improve. Call it a calculated risk. The matter on Olympus isn't as personal for Nemesis as it is for you, and she hasn't been especially receptive to suggestion recently. The good witch always figured you would make your way up to the mortal realm, once you were ready and the situation called for it. Well done. Your underworld birthright stuff getting in the way? A curse, not just a blessing, it would seem. Well, if your witchery got you this far, surely it can aid with this predicament. How was the surface? Still warm and welcoming, I reckon? You're to be commended for even setting foot up there. The great Heracles. That's a complicated one. Part man, part god, part monster too, perhaps. The rules of death don't quite apply to him. What did he want? He give you any trouble? Don't take it personally. You have wise relatives and ruthless ones. They may not like their odds hinging on any one individual. And do watch yourself with Heracles, eh? Aye, we do. And greetings. Salutations. Salutations, goddess. You'll get him yet. And you as well. You likewise. And may you prevail. We'll find our way. Aye, that. We'll get through this. He'll get his. Well, you'll get him next time, I reckon. You speak of it like an old action yarn. Big bastard massacred my crew. My heart threatened to burst from my chest getting past him, and now he's up to his old antics with the goddess there. Hear that, goddess? You got him, didn't you? Killed the bastard, for one night at least. The first report I heard I scarce believed, but by the third or fourth I'd come around. Well done, goddess. Aye, and he'll be sore about it, I expect, but even though we're not there yet, we needed this, I think. You needed this. On to the next phase, then? You found him, goddess. Your look says it all, along with my reports. Gave him something to remember you by, I reckon, even if the battle didn't go your way. Well, fortunately for you, the old are often rather slow to learn. You run into him a few more times like that, you'll soon know every trick he's got. Though, do be very careful out there, My mind wanders not to matters of family, but to the sirens' blasted song. I scarce got to hear it even once whilst navigating through their waters. I wanted desperately to cast myself into the sea just for a better listen. Think nothing of it. Siren music's an acquired taste. Acquired by all those who sailed in their vicinity whilst I was home. Incessant drivel, though, that's all you think it is? Word has it Erebus has been spotted in the depths along your path. Intelligence you likely could have used before. She made your journey worse for you. Apologies, goddess. She doesn't know the half of what we've planned. Besides, her boredom drives her more than anything. Run into her a few more times, she'll soon grow sick of it and go away. Aye, goddess. Penelope stood by my side, because I only told her so much about my indiscretions, as you call them. Then, when we reunited after death, I had to tell her the rest. She had spent her best years awaiting an unfaithful man. How was it sailing through the rift of Thessaly, goddess? Sometimes I long for my past days and nights at sea. Probably since I've forgotten just how miserable it was. A proper nautical experience, then, fraught with danger, mystery. I feel a little envious of those drowned crews. After I died, I thought my sailing days were done. Put in a good word for me, would you? You look as though you've seen a ghost, if you'll forgive the very antiquated mortal turn of phrase, goddess. So we'd say to someone looking disconcerted. Things all right? Damn it. Our reports said nothing of the sort, but then some of our shade informants haven't yet returned. We had expected Kronos to stay put in the lowest reaches. You must have caused enough of a stir to catch his notice. We reckon not. We're counting on him thinking you're inconsequential to his plans. As for our own, I shall go over this with the good witch. Be safe, and cheers for the report. You made it to the morning fields. Good. Tartarus is not too far behind. Directly underneath, in fact, but the ingress is a bit of a walk from your initial drop. We mortals just love the fields, goddess. A place to rid oneself of misery, or drown in it. A perfect spot for demons, only some of which shall leave you be. Not sighted Kronos on the surface yet. Why risk it when you've got bloodthirsty satyrs serving as your eyes and ears? His forces are more organized than first they seemed. This is the war they've sought ever since the gods put Kronos in the ground. The promise of the Titan's return, immortality, and untold riches. What faced Charybdis? Goddess, I'd seen reports about some sort of whirlpool in Poseidon's rift, and now my fears confirmed. At least it didn't swallow you outright. Avoid it at all costs? Used to be I fished out of necessity alone. The earth would oft be stingy with her bounties, whilst the sea would yield plenty to us mortals if we knew where to look. Well, you already know a couple of those points if for some reason we were tasked to make a list, but the biggest difference, if I had to choose, is that I finally am free. Well, we shall see about that last bit, but for the rest, perhaps I got all of the wanderlust out of my system whilst I lived and breathed. Most of it, anyhow. A word of caution, goddess, in regard to an impediment you may confront when finally you reach the far end of the morning fields. Reports suggest it's some sort of infernal beast. A big one. Our shades had to stay very far away. Well, it has several fire-spitting maws, allegedly, which, troublingly, fits the profile of your father's household pet. Though if this really is the case, may it simply let you pass. The reports are inconclusive, but I thought you should know. I feared as much, for they said the beast had several fire-spitting maws. I don't suppose he recognized you after all this time and let you pass? I heard your efforts to bring Cerberus back to his senses were successful. At least temporarily, goddess. He bounded off to Tartarus only to be cast out into the fields again. Kronos is using them to get at you, instill in you emotions that compel you to throw caution to the wind. Remember, wars are won and lost in hearts and minds. Well, yes, I always did. In life and death, we can but strive to know each other well, goddess. Though I knew Circe, just a bit, at least. As casual acquaintances is all. Why do you ask? No need to tell her anything. Best keep your focus on the task at hand. That's not a pain entirely, goddess. When I was whole, returning from a war, I found Circe and her isle, and I lived there for about a year. She housed me and my men, and we grew close. I learned a lot from her, and then we left. Well, until I saw her again here. It's in the past, and for the both of us, I think. Not every such relationship need last eternally. Your little garden there has cheered this old place up a bit, goddess. In trying times, such simple pleasures often first to fade, precisely when they're needed most. Come now, all I do is pay attention to details. Victory comes to those whose hearts are predisposed. I mean, look at us, our spirits are quite literally all we have. And now flowers. Of course. Now, they probably are fine, each on a little scouting expedition at my own behest under the auspices of the Good Witch, of course. The hound goes one way, the polecat another. Where they're going, they shall appreciate seeing a friendly face. She stays over in her little corner mostly, goddess, but I've been keeping my eye on her in case of anything, as long as she undermines our efforts well out of earshot. Aye. Good, you're back. According to reports, Erebus flew off toward the Rift of Thessaly on an intercept course with the fleet. Except I don't think that she's headed there to help. Not you, at least. All we can do is work with what we've got. I apologize that we could not forewarn you on this one. We'll continue investigating her motives and accomplices. Sounds like the Cyclops that I used to know, all right. My crew and I, we were his captives for a while, and his food supply. I found a way to get us out of there, but it was ugly. Nobody took his eye, goddess. I gave to him a name that wouldn't make a lick of sense when he called over to his mates for help. We had to try. Perhaps not anymore. How is old Polyphemus, anyhow? Slowed down a bit since he was young, perhaps? I scarce was any match for him, but I was merely mortal, whilst you. I did, and only wish he had another eye so that I could have done it twice, for evidently he is not remorseful in the least for what he did, and, as you plainly see, neither am I. Good. I am caught up in my reports, goddess, focused on what matters most. Meet you at the taverna. We mortals had what we called wine, an acrid sort of drink made of crushed grapes. We'd sometimes say it tasted as good as ambrosia, but it most certainly did not. Such moments and occasions do occur. I know a lot more now than I did then, and sometimes I miss that feeling, knowing less, or the camaraderie of sailing with my crew. We're shades, goddess, and not all quite as whole as I. Besides, you still can miss your past with those you still know now. Remember when you used to play at hiding with our good witch back when you were very small? Well, my original point was merely that this Ambrosia's really something else. Let us ensure it does not go to waste. I'd not realized how much I needed that. It's true what they say, that Ambrosia tastes much better in good company. Can you confirm a sighting of Queen Lamia down in the morning fields, goddess? I'd caution you to watch for signs of slithering about, except I reckon I may be too late. Too much even for you? Nay. Found yourself a phantom lair in the fields, if my shades down there are still to be believed. Blood-sucking bastards. The phantoms, not the shades. Better that than burn under the break of day, or so they figure, probably. Well, you know what they're after next you meet again. They sent the vermin answer after you, goddess. We know that satyr by no other title nor any others of that size. He's one of the Titan Lord's high priests. Even if you take him, our reports say that he cannot truly die. A gift from Kronos, in exchange for performing the ritual that brought him back. A gold wrath, then. I reckon if you're Kronos and you've got a limitless supply of shiny metal, you might as well use some of them for your profane research. But you were close. Most likely, aye. Lambda, report. Alpha, report. Gamma, report in. Delta, you report. Aye. 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 What else? Go on. And? Anything else? Details? Blast. Understood. Very well. Noted. So it seems. Shadows conceal you. Well done. Dismissed. Good. Dismissed. May your witchery and silver always serve you well. No telling what the fates may have in store for us, aye? Always a pleasure to be in your company, goddess. Through hard times such as these, our bonds grow strong. The good witch is very proud of you, you know that, aye? Our shades shall keep us well apprised of your progress. There's not much worse than being separated from one's family, aye? We'll back you on this every step of the way, as many nights as it requires, goddess. That's a nice touch. Plenty of room to grow. Our garden flourishes. Oh, what have we there? How unexpected that. Such sorcery. Impressive work. That's a good trick. New shipment there for you. Shipment came for you. New shipment over there. Shipment for you back there. Greetings. Back in one piece. Something to report? Evening. Evening, I think. Up and about. You have this. Goddess. Goddess.